everyone. So this video is a follow-on from the last video that I did, which was chronic illness and health anxiety and the connection of how it's very possible that many of us develop health anxiety with chronic illness, and very understandable. And I do believe that today's video is extremely important information for our healing journeys, and it's going to lead on to another extremely important video. So please do follow this series. Please do subscribe so that you get notified when new videos are posted. So today I'm going to be talking about the importance of pushing past our fears and our limiting thoughts and beliefs in order to overcome our restrictions and limitations that chronic illness imposes on us. So often it seems impossible to live a normal life. It seems impossible to do normal things, and it is pretty much almost impossible when you have an extremely fast heart rate, when you're in extreme pain, when your mood is so low, with debilitating fatigue, etc., etc., etc. And there are some uncomfortable truths here that I took a very long time to accept and to face. So I have to apologize in advance if I ruffle any feathers with what I'm saying, but I'm just sharing what I found helpful on my healing journey, and it's taken me a very long time to get here. I did want to solve my problem with standard medicine and the help of doctors, the help of healers. I did want to do that, but I came full circle and I realized that I have to be my own healer, and it involves more than just a medication. It involves a big change in the mind, the emotions, and in the body. So this is a huge component to healing. So many people, they say that they've tried everything and they're still not healing. Well, it's because it's so complex. The human body is so complex. Human beings are so complex, and it's not only to do with the body, it's to do with the mind, it's to do with energy, it's to do with emotions, it's to do with trauma, it's to do with spirituality, it's to do with our thoughts, the wiring of our brain. So important. So you might have heard about programs like DNRS, and you might have heard about neuroplasticity. I actually haven't done any of those programs myself, and I'm open to trying it in the future and reporting back on that. But what I have done for myself is something that I led myself. I decided what I wanted to do. I wanted to feel like I was in control. I wanted to feel like I was no longer relying on somebody else's ideas and somebody else's treatments in order to heal me. I wanted to feel like I was my own healer. And this is the theme at the moment in this stage of my healing journey, and it has been extremely successful. We'll talk more about that in this video today. So a very quick rundown for those of you who don't yet know. I was bitten by a tick for the first time when I was 2 years old. I became very, very sick. I had acute symptoms, and then they eventually resolved. At 4 years old, I had a severe asthma attack, and from then on, I had symptoms all the way through my life, but I was an overachiever. I was functioning, and I got a very, very good job that I really loved, and I was a giver. I just gave everything of myself. I put a lot of pressure on myself. I had a lot of high expectations for myself, and eventually I just crashed, and I was bedbound for a few years actually, and I have tried so many treatments. I have been to Germany for a 3-week treatment which included hypothermia. I've done disulfiram. I've done antibiotics for a year, high dose combination antibiotics. I have done the Rife machine, herbals, ozone therapy. I have an infrared sauna. I've done it all. Acupuncture, all of it. I've tried it all. I have not tried bee venom therapy though, and I have not tried SOT or SOT. I've heard a lot about it. That seems very good too. But I have realized that it goes deeper, like I've said. So as you can imagine, the treatments cost a lot of money, which creates a huge financial burden, not to mention the emotional burden and the trauma of having hope every single time that you're going to get better from this terrible situation that's completely ruined your life, so to speak. and then each treatment being so promising and then not working out. So eventually I was feeling extremely discouraged, and I found a quantum healer, and he helped me to realize the connection between trauma and your emotions and chronic conditions. And working with him for a year really exposed me slowly but surely and certainly to the link between my emotions and my traumas and the symptoms that I was experiencing. And I also discovered that I am an empath, so I feel very deeply and I sense other people's emotions too. So I get really affected. And this really opened my eyes because I realized so many things during this time working with him. And one of the main things that I realized is that I was giving of myself to everybody else, but not to myself. I was just giving and wanting to overachieve, but I was not giving that same attention and love and nurturing to myself. And this is such an important aspect because since I've been discovering more on this topic and reading more books, which I will suggest some books to you later, it's become very clear through the research of doctors and those who are dedicated to really studying and getting to the bottom of chronic conditions, and they've been doing this work for decades, that there's a common theme and there's a common personality. There are personality traits and there are shared experiences and traumas such as narcissistic abuse, and very often the patients are empaths. So this is very interesting. But along with learning that I'm an empath, I learned that I'm not only very sensitive to emotions, I'm also sensitive to toxins. And my body perceives certain things as toxins that a healthy or regular person wouldn't necessarily perceive as toxic. This would include certain foods, products, fragrances, and it can even be people. And on top of that, I'm also a perfectionist and an overthinker. So this led to me becoming very restricted, leading a very restricted lifestyle, and very fearful. I was already very fearful of my symptoms. In my last video, I speak about how that developed with having symptoms since such a young age and how my health anxiety, so to speak, developed along with the chronic illness. But it really led me down a road of restriction, and I was struggling to fight past my limiting beliefs and my emotions and my symptoms. And so I realized that it's not actually about fighting, it's about surrendering. It's about surrendering the control. It's about facing the fears. It's about accepting that we have these fears, we have these uncomfortable emotions. But it came to a point where I felt, you know what? I'm either going to get better or I'm going to die trying. So I'm going to surrender and I'm going to face these things and I'm going to be brave. And the two key words here were courage and trust. These were the two words that played such a big role in my progress. So if I'm being open and honest, I was eventually having panic attacks every single day. That started December last year. I honestly don't really know why it started every single day, but I could not be alone. I needed someone with me all the time. I had this crazy sense of abandonment, loneliness, extreme fear. There was just adrenaline rushing through my body. And I couldn't be alone. I always wanted Ross to be with me, to hold me. I was terrified all the time. I was a bit irrational, I would say, and I was not trusting myself. I was not trusting my own decisions. I was not trusting anything. And I really felt such a loss of worth. I felt so unworthy, and I actually sank into a depression, and I've never experienced a depression like that before. And this is all because I was processing so many of my deepest, darkest emotions and facing so many of my fears, and it was all too much. And I now know that my nervous system was not ready to face all of that. My nervous system was not regulated yet. So a lot of people ask me, who's your quantum healer? I would like to start. But I really need to stress that your nervous system is so important. And like I've said, so many of us, we've had trauma and we've had chronic stress in our childhood. And so our nervous systems are not able to deal with much, and we need to build capacity within our nervous systems, which is something that I'll discuss in my next video. So it's important that we are very gentle with ourselves. This is one of the most important things. Another thing that I was really struggling with was severe insomnia. And this is partly because when I was having panic attacks, I was calling ambulances. My heart was going extremely fast because obviously it's the chronic illness too. Our bodies are weak. So I was calling ambulances and I was going to hospitals, and they gave me benzos. They gave me Xanax, which I now know is really not a solution, and it's damaging to the brain. And I was suffering with severe insomnia for a very long time. So that's another thing that I really struggled with. So that adds a whole nother component to this, because it's hard to come off benzos once you've been on them, and also because it numbs you out for a while and then that just kicks in as soon as you're done with it. So I would not recommend relying on medication for this. And when I was going through this, I was left with so many decisions to make. Should I go to a psychiatrist, as all the doctors were recommending? Should I continue with energy healing, which was overloading my nervous system? Should I be going to cognitive behavioral therapy? Should I be getting a life coach? What should I be doing? What can I do? And it seemed like there was no support, and I was so confused. I didn't know which route to follow. Should I be continuing with my Lyme treatment? Is this just the Lyme and the co-infections that's causing all of this havoc? But I had to really gather myself, because I was on my own here. I was on my own. Nobody was able to help. Only I could be my guide in this situation. And I really feel that I was backed into this corner for a reason, because I needed to make discoveries and I needed to share this to help people. I really do believe that. So what were these scary, scary thoughts that I was dealing with? Firstly, I was terrified that I was dying. I really did feel like I was dying. I was convinced that I was dying. I have unfortunately experienced a trauma where I did see my father pass away suddenly, and he had very similar symptoms to me. So this left me really insecure and really scared. So those were thoughts that were constantly going through my mind. What if I never heal? That was another thought that was constantly going through my mind. What if I never heal? What if I have to suffer like this forever? I would rather die. This is a thought that was going through my mind. What if something happens to me and I pass out and nobody's here to help me and I'm alone? What if an ambulance can't get to me in time and I die? What if I can't get to the hospital in time and I die? What if I'm not able to help myself? All of these thoughts were constantly going through my mind and just making me more and more fearful of my symptoms, of being alone, and of pushing past my restrictions. My brain was also in overdrive, and I think that the benzos do affect this too, and there's actually a science behind it, but I'll get into that in future videos when I speak about that and what I did to combat it. But my brain was also in overdrive, and sometimes I just felt like I was losing control. I was losing my mind. My brain was just going crazy, going so fast, and all the adrenaline was rushing through my body, and it was hard to get a grip. So the solutions from this state that I found myself in ended up also being solutions for my chronic illness in general. Isn't that amazing? It was linked, because the body and the mind are linked, and this is what I've discovered. So what did I do in this situation? If there's one thing that I've learned on this journey, it's that there's never one thing that's going to get you out of a sticky situation that is chronic. So there are a few things that I did, and there are a few decisions that I made that were the wrong decisions, but I learned from that. One of those decisions was seeing a psychiatrist. I regret that. I'm going to be very honest about it. It wasn't for me. It wasn't for my own chronic illness. It wasn't for my own situation. Not that I don't recommend psychiatrists. They absolutely have a place. They absolutely serve a purpose. But in this situation, it was not at all helpful, because I needed to be treated specifically and individually. And I knew that no doctor or psychiatrist or even healer could help me. Nobody else could help me. As I said, it was just up to me. So a psychiatrist serves their purpose, but for me, it was not the way. And I really regret going that route. it just led me to doubt myself more, because you're seeing a professional and they're giving you their professional opinion from years of studying and years of experience with patients. So you really feel like you're the one who's irrational when your whole soul is telling you this is not the way, this is not the way. You really feel like you don't know what's best for you and they know what's best for you, and you must just place your fate and trust in their hands. And I'm here to tell you that this is not necessarily the way. You need to trust your intuition, and you need to really trust yourself and trust your decisions, because nobody knows it all. This is what I've learned. Nobody knows it all. So the decisions that you make for yourself are probably the best decisions that anybody can make for you, as long as they are educated, and that you're learning from your experiences, you're looking at your experiences, and you're able to really be honest with yourself and learn from them. So what did I do? I got some other people on board. I knew that I couldn't do it completely alone. I wanted to be the one sailing the ship, and I wanted to be the one making the decisions, but I did want some guidance and help, of course, because you can never know enough. There's never enough to learn. So, for example, if somebody has years and years and years of experience in one area, that's going to help you. And then if somebody else has years and years of experience in another area, their experience can help you. So there's a diversity. Everybody has different areas of knowledge, and it's great to make use of that, and it's great to have support and to listen to the knowledge of others. So what I did was I got 2 people on board, and that was a rapid transformational therapist and a somatic experiencing therapist. My next video will be on somatic experiencing, because it is absolutely incredible. It's working directly with your nervous system, and it's showing you how to become your own healer. It's so empowering, and it's honestly one of the best things that I've done, if not the best. And there's so much research on how dysregulated nervous systems lead to chronic illness. And I've been reading books and I've been watching YouTube videos. I highly recommend Irene Lyon's YouTube channel. She is so informative and so knowledgeable. And I also do recommend Marissa Peer's YouTube channel, because it gives insight into what I'm talking about. And the rapid transformational therapist did really help me. So although it's not, one of the most important things that you'll do for your healing, it certainly does help. And it's also an eye-opener and a learning experience. Another thing that I did that I knew would really stabilize me is having somebody with me. So I have somebody with me during the day. When Ross goes to work, there's always somebody with me. And that's just so that I can really regulate my nervous system, so that I can get into rest and digest. It's so important that your body rests and that your adrenals rest, so that you can get into a repair mode. You can get your body into a resting state where it's able to actually repair and use the energy to repair itself. So I do have somebody with me during the day. They help me also with the housework, and they act as a support system, and we go out for walks together. And this is one of the fears that I really pushed past. It's amazing. I'm able to go for walks almost daily. And I actually went for a walk for over an hour in extreme temperatures. So I'm really proud of myself, and I'm walking every single day. My heart rate has improved. My blood pressure has improved. And when I was in one of my worst states, I said to Ross, all I want to do is to be able to go to the beach and swim in the sea. And I'm happy to say that I do that twice a week now. I go to the beach, I swim in the sea, I just relax and look at nature and regulating my nervous system and resting and feeling joy again and pushing past my fears. But I have to tell you, it was so difficult to do it at first. It almost seemed impossible, and it almost seemed like I was going to kill myself trying to do it, because my heart was so fast and I was not able to breathe, and I didn't enjoy it the first few times really. But once I was able to do it, I was proud of myself, and I said, you know what, I didn't die. Maybe I can do this again. Maybe I can try it again. Obviously, always being gentle with myself. Obviously, never pushing myself. And the first walk that I did was literally just around our building. And then eventually I did more and more and more. And let me tell you, I was so scared. I was shaking. I was fearful. I thought I was gonna die. I had to sometimes hold on to Russ saying, support me, hold me, reassure me. And he did an amazing job. He would reassure me. He was very kind and gentle, and he would reassure me. And it's very important to have some sort of support with you. So if you are able to have some sort of support, whether it's a caretaker or a family member, if you're not able to get a family member, I'm not able to because I live in a different country to my family and a different country to my friends. So it's hard, and I think that also contributed to the loneliness and the fear. But having somebody with you, it's important. And it's important to feel that you're supported. And this is actually backed up in the research that people do recover better when they have a community around them and when they have support around them. So that's an important point that I want to make. The next point is about rewiring the brain and understanding that our brains are actually physically affected by traumas, and especially chronic traumas, and that our thought processes can often not actually help the panic situation because our thought processes take place in the frontal cortex of the brain. And when you've been through chronic trauma, it affects the amygdala, which is the part of the brain that sets off the warning signs without thinking. So it sets off the danger warning. And I always used to say, it's like there's alarm bells going off in my brain. And I thought it was just Lyme that was doing this. And obviously it's an aspect because chronic conditions can cause inflammation in the brain. And I did have inflammation in the brain. But along with this, early childhood trauma and chronic stress causes the amygdala to actually become enlarged. And so it sends danger signals in the brain that overrides the frontal cortex. There is nothing you can do to switch these danger signals off with rational thought. And this is why I began to doubt my thoughts. This is why I began to doubt my thoughts and to not trust myself, because I thought, oh my gosh, I'm not able to calm myself down. I'm not able to rationalize what is wrong with me. Well, technically, actually, the amygdala in the brain is enlarged in people with chronic stress and trauma, especially during childhood. So this is a very important aspect to understand. And it's also important to understand that the brain can be rewired and it actually can heal. So you have the control. You are able to actually heal your brain. Our bodies are so incredible. Our bodies are so amazing. We don't even realize how amazing our bodies are. We really need to give them credit. And so often I would get so frustrated with my body and say, oh, it's not cooperating, but it's doing the best it can and it's doing the best it knows. So these danger signals go off in order to keep us safe. Our brain really does think that it's in danger, even when we're really not. So engaging in activities that calm the mind is very important. And throughout the years, I've heard about people talking about how important meditation is. And I thought, I'm sure that's important, but how important can it really be? And it always took me a long time to understand the importance of meditation and why one would really want to get into it. Because often when you meditate, you have to face your feelings. You're sitting still and you have to face what's going on inside, and it's very uncomfortable. So sometimes meditation can actually bring on a panic attack. And this is why, when you're trying to calm the mind, somatic experiencing and regulating your nervous system is so important to do it simultaneously so that you have those skills. And as I say, that will be my next video. This is why this is a series of videos and it's so important. And I'm sorry that there's so much information here, but it's just so important to share all of this in one video so that if somebody's coming here with panic or they're coming here not knowing what to do at this part of their healing journey, all the information is here. So calming the mind and training that amygdala to understand that we're actually not in danger is very important. As I said, you cannot do this by reasoning. So you have to focus on keeping calm and getting your brain used to keeping calm, because our bodies learn through their experiences, just like our nervous systems are wired throughout our childhood due to our experiences to protect us. Everything is to protect us and to keep us alive and to keep us safe. So we need to take control and tell our minds it's okay, it's okay. And they tell you to do this in cognitive behavioral therapy. However, it's not effective when the amygdala is enlarged. So it's effective in cases where the anxiety is from the frontal cortex and it's thought-induced. But when the amygdala is actually enlarged, other methods are needed, such as training the amygdala to stay small and to realize that it's not under threat. And that's very hard to do in our world today because we're bombarded with information, we're bombarded with screens. We have very busy lifestyles. There's so much traffic, there's so much stimulation, there's lights, there's cameras, there's action. There's just so much going on and so many people's opinions. We're exposed to so many people's opinions. So there are a lot of threats, so to speak, and a lot of things that could be perceived as danger. So you got to really focus on calming your mind. And this would involve less screen time. This is so important. Phone screens and computer screens and laptop screens and iPad screens, they give our nervous system a signal. And it's not a signal to relax and to heal. So we need to be aware and mindful of our time spent on our phones and our laptops. This is very important. So developing activities that are almost meditative in nature and that don't involve screen time where you're just numbing your brain by scrolling through. These are very helpful. So things like puzzles. I love puzzles now. They become very rewarding and very healing and relaxing and calming. So things like puzzles. The great thing about puzzles is every time you get a puzzle piece correct, you do get dopamine sent to your brain. So it's actually a great activity for the brain. You can also read. You can go for walks in nature. Nature is so important. It's very hard for me to go out in nature because it's very hot here at the moment, extreme heat. But I do get out every evening still. And as I said, I do still go to the beach. But as much as you can, I know everyone has a different situation, but as much as you can, if you can find some grass, if you can find a tree, if you can find a plant, be in nature, look at it, connect with it. Enjoy it, be in the moment. Another thing you can do is grow plants. And I actually found it more unexpectedly enjoyable, more enjoyable than I expected because you have to nurture those plants and it in a way teaches you to take care of yourself and nurture yourself. If you're in the moment and you're looking after plants, it's really a reminder of how we should also be nourishing and looking after ourselves and taking the time and patience with ourselves and being gentle with ourselves. So nature can really be a teacher to us. And that's what I love about nature. It's a teacher to us and it's a mirror that reflects to us how we should be treating ourselves. And there are a lot of life lessons that you can learn from the way nature operates because we are a part of nature and we've been removed from that. So reconnecting with nature is very healing in that way. And it's more powerful than one would expect. And then the other thing that I do is I just rest my mind. And I do this with guided meditations. And I did consult somebody who I actually found on YouTube. So I'll leave a link to his YouTube channel below. But all of his information is actually on his YouTube channel on how to really rest your mind, and he has guided meditations that he can send to you. His YouTube channel is information packed. It's actually about recovering from mental health conditions naturally. So he's extremely knowledgeable and he's been working in this profession helping people for over 30 years. So it's a really great resource. I'll leave the name of his channel up on the screen and I will also link it below. Another thing that really helped me was to cut out the self-blame, the guilt, and the shame. It's so easy to get stuck in a pattern of self-blame when you realize that you are responsible for your healing. And I'm sure that a lot of people with chronic illness will relate to this. We often have these thoughts of, why did it happen to me? Why me? I know somebody who got bitten by a tick and they didn't get as ill as me. They didn't get as sick as me. Or maybe you have a family member who had the same experience. Why do I have chronic fatigue? If you have chronic fatigue syndrome, why do I have chronic fatigue syndrome? What did I do wrong? What did I eat wrong? Did I drink too much alcohol? Did I abuse my body? What's wrong with me? You know, is there something genetically wrong with me? What have I done wrong? And we can carry a lot of guilt and shame and fall into a pattern of self-blame. But something that I've learned along this journey is that, firstly, everybody makes mistakes. Not everybody becomes ill, but we are on this journey for a reason. People who have a chronic illness, we're on this journey for a reason. Many of our circumstances we haven't been in control of. Things such as abuse, trauma, narcissistic relationships, we're not in control of that. And it's very easy to just want to give up and say that we've been unlucky. But there's a reason why this is happening to us. And it's all a lesson. And there's so much to learn. There is so much to learn. And when you begin to learn and you begin to see the way out, you realize that this is all teaching you to really love yourself, to really be able to nurture yourself and to empower you. And I guess what I'm trying to say is that the theme of this video is that people in our circumstances, for whatever reason we have found ourselves in this circumstance, it's usually pathogenic infections coupled with trauma. But each individual needs to discover this on their own journey. But whatever the reason may be, our challenge is the same. Our challenge is one of finding freedom, true freedom. And the truth is that everybody in the world has issues. Everybody in the world suffers in their own way, whether it be from anxiety, whether it be from a severe insecurity. Everybody has their challenges. And you could say that perhaps we have the ultimate challenge to overcome debilitating chronic illness. And I just want to encourage you to realize that freedom comes from within. There may be many people in the world trying to find it through superficial means. When I'm rich, I'll be free. When I'm beautiful, I'll be free. When I'm loved and adored, I'll be free. But it's not so. We've been backed into a corner in order to learn that freedom comes within. And it's only when you're given no other choice and no other means to fill those wounds and to overcome those challenges that you truly start to do the most difficult work. And that's when you start to find those little bits of freedom and a sense of empowerment and achievement and pride. So that leads me on to my next point, which is that our primitive brains are built in such a way that when there was a threat, let's say back in the day, before technology, we used to either die, we would either get eaten by the lion, or we would escape. And that's victory, right? So you have a sense of victory once you've escaped this threat. And I'll go into this also in future videos because there's so much information, but that's why our adrenaline kicks in, that's why our amygdala enlarges, that's why our fight and flight kicks in, so that our bodies actually are able to escape. We have superhuman strength during those times, and we're able to escape such situations. But in this day and age, there are so many things that can be perceived as threats. There's so much overstimulation and there's so much information shared online that is really distressing, and so much fear, especially during this time, so much fear being spread, you could go to the grocery store and perhaps lose your life. So that's another threat. And there's no sense of escaping. There's no sense of challenge accepted, challenge overcome. So our brains are actually wired to deal with fear and stress. We actually thrive on stress and anxiety. We're supposed to be presented with a challenge that gets us going a bit, gets us excited, gets us anxious maybe even, and then rise to meet the challenge and overcome that challenge. So it's important that we are doing these things during the day. And when we become sick, often we just want to lie in bed and become so passive, but we need to challenge ourselves during the day. And this can be something so simple, like reading a chapter of a book and learning something new, or like completing a few pieces of a puzzle. Overcoming those challenges can be so rewarding, and it can bring us joy, and it can also get us out of fight and flight. So this is another tip that I want to give in this video. Setting little challenges for myself, like making this video today, and overcoming it. This is also very important to healing. So that would be linked to finding purpose. And that's something that I have incorporated into my life currently too, is finding purpose. And that can be even in just little ways. I love to be creative. So I love to edit videos, I love to make videos, I love to create things, write, design things. So maybe you want to write a poem, maybe you want to start writing a book, anything, big or small, whatever feels right for you, you decide. But setting challenges for yourself and overcoming them, it's important in life, very important, and important for healing, of course. So we need to learn to accept our emotions and accept that we are always growing and we always have a purpose. My next point is going to directly touch on how to tackle that catastrophic thinking. And this is bringing a bit of the somatic experiencing into this video. So it's giving you a little taste of what the next video might touch on, but it's obviously going to be a whole lot more detailed. But basically, when you use the somatic experiencing techniques, you're able to identify the catastrophic thoughts, and you're able to understand that this is just your survival physiology kicking in. So although we might already know that the thoughts are not true, the thoughts are also not dangerous. And our survival physiology is always urgent. So the thoughts will always be urgent and they will always want to grab your attention. And it's very easy to get caught up in these thoughts and think, oh, maybe it's true. Oh my gosh, my heart's fluttering, my heart's palpitating, it's going really fast. I might die of a heart attack. I might die of cardiac arrest. That's an urgent thought that's there in order to help you to survive. And we develop these thought patterns from a very young age due to certain situations, such as threatening situations. But it's there to grab your attention. So the way to deal with these thoughts is to say thank you to your body. Thank you for trying to help me. I hear you. Thank you for trying to help me survive. You have my best interests at heart, and I'm very grateful for everything that you've done for me up until now. But we're not doing that anymore. We don't need that anymore. We're safer without the fear. We're not going to do that anymore. And this is how you deal with such thoughts. And just understanding that survival physiology is urgent and it is there to grab your attention is very helpful. But this is just a small component of somatic experiencing. And I would say that somatic experiencing is the main thing that has been able to get me up and push me past through the fears and to not have panic attacks anymore. I haven't had a panic attack in many, many months. I don't want to jinx it, knocking on wood, but I haven't had a panic attack in many, many months. So that's upcoming in the next video. And this is why I say these videos are so important. And so many of my symptoms have actually improved dramatically. So this is another thing that it will help you with, and it's just incredible. The other thought patterns that we tend to have is searching for reasons why. And this I am very guilty of. I want to know why. I'm a very curious person, I'm a very analytical person, and I'm an overthinker. So I always want to get to the bottom of it, and I always want to know why. But we need to understand that we will never know why. It's just too complex. And it goes all the way back into the womb. Our survival responses, our nervous system responses, and the symptoms that our bodies produce in order to actually get our attention, it goes way, way, way back. And we can't analyze our entire life to find out the reasons why. What we can do is deal with what we have right now and make a change. And so we need to trust the intelligence of our body. Our bodies are more intelligent than anyone realizes, than anyone knows. We have not discovered even a small fraction of what our bodies are capable of and even how our bodies function. It's a constant issue of research and a constant area of discovery. And I don't think that we'll ever understand fully, but we have to just trust that our bodies are extremely intelligent and they always have our best interests at heart. And we are always healing, we're always regenerating. Although our bodies may be a little bit confused due to trauma, we are actually able to guide them. One of the ways that we can guide our bodies is by getting out of the way and letting our bodies do its thing. Because so often our minds get in the way and we want to be in control and we want to know why and we want to do and we want to come up with ideas and come up with plans. But sometimes we just need to get out of our body's way and let it do its thing. And at the same time, make sure that we're nurturing and taking care of our bodies by being healthy and by not overloading it with toxins. And having said all of this, so I'm encouraging people to push past their fears. I'm encouraging people to challenge themselves and to challenge their beliefs and to challenge the limitations that their bodies are putting on themselves. For example, I struggled with a very, very fast heart rate and heart palpitations, as well as shaking, debilitating fatigue, and shortness of breath. And that's not all that I was facing. Of course, I was facing a lot more, and also a lot of anxiety and panic, as well as neurological symptoms. So confusion sometimes, not being able to find words, not being able to focus, and blurry vision and those sorts of things, and dizziness. So obviously, as you can imagine, with those symptoms, it's extremely hard to push through and do activities and actually enjoy activities. And the first time you push through, you probably won't enjoy them, but you just have to keep on doing it, because as I said, it's either you recover or you die trying. So that was my mentality. But having said that, I have to say that there has to be a balance between pushing yourself or pushing past fears and resting. So start very, very small. As I said, the first time, maybe you just go outside of your apartment if you're not able, or your house. If you're not able to do that yet, maybe you just do that. Maybe it's even just taking a shower. Maybe it's just even making a meal. And when I used to do that, I used to say, oh, no, that's affected me badly. I don't want to do it again. But what you need to do is you need to rest in between, nurture yourself, regather yourself, and then set another challenge for yourself and say, you know what? I'm going to do this because I want to, because I would like to. And yes, it will be worth it. It will be worth it, because each time I do something like this, I'm going to reward myself with rest and nurturing and love and gratitude. And I trust myself that I'm not going to push myself beyond what my body can handle. Use your intuition for this, guys. Most of us are empaths, so we're able to use our intuition for these kinds of things. Trust yourself. So there's a balance between pushing too hard and resting. Pushing too hard with your mind too, that also really matters. Being on Facebook all day, looking at articles all day, being on screens, that's pushing your brain, that's pushing your mind. So you need to rest in between. You need to make sure that it's at least 50-50, but resting more than being on the screens, even better. I will be giving more tips on this in the future. There are things that you can do to make sure that the stimulation is less. Okay guys, so that is all for today's video. I know it was a lot of information. I know it was really, really long. The next video is going to be on somatic experiencing and what exactly it is. In the meantime, you can check out Irene Lyon's YouTube channel. It has so much information. It is absolutely amazing. And I actually found my practitioner through her website by discovering her YouTube channel. I will also be doing videos in the future on the severe insomnia that I experience and how I am overcoming that and combating that. I will also be doing videos on how I came off benzos, because that was a huge challenge within itself, and so many doctors just gave me benzos to fix the problem. I didn't know how damaging that could be. So yes, it's damaging to the brain, and it actually also contributes to symptoms. So I'll be doing videos about that in the future. So this series of videos is so important and I'm really excited to share about it, but I think I've got to go. I think I've bombarded you with information. Let me know if you would like to see maybe a week in my life on how I manage to nurture myself and balance stimulation, and how I relax my brain, and as well as, you know, the sessions. I don't know if I'll be able to share sessions, but maybe I'll get my practitioner on a video sometime in the future. There's so much to share, so much information, so much to share. And I'm a strong believer in empowering ourselves by learning as much as we can and then making the right decisions for ourselves. So thank you so much for watching. Do subscribe below if you would like to follow along, and if you found this video helpful, please comment as well if you have other methods that work for you. That would be so helpful for the community and for myself. So thank you so much. Bye.